Guess who's back in the house? I hope that you guys are having a lovely day. I first want to give a shout out to two of my favorite subscribers, Dave the Cutie and Berto says, I cannot thank you guys enough for everything that you've done to help me with my channel. And so Berto says told me that I should kind of like work on the lighting. And so I'm not sure if this is better, but I'm slowly working on fixing the lighting. And so I have like a beauty ring and some other lights that are really hot. And so I probably will be sweating a lot. So please forgive me. So I wanted to come on to give a review for Pose Season 2, Episode 7. And I first want to say that this episode has created a lot of conversations. And before coming on, I went to Instagram and Twitter, and a lot of people, including me, are really excited about the conversations that Pose is creating. And we'll get into those in a bit. And so we start the episode off with Damon at the YMCA. He is instructing the Vogue 101 class, and I was excited to see an LA local, Isla Jones, aka Purple Crush. She is known for throwing mini balls here in LA, and she is heavily involved in the voguing community. And if there's anyone who's watching that watches Hey Queen, you actually see her and some LA Voguers in the new Hey Queen intro. And so is she walks women's performance, and she's actually trying to really go to kind of like as many New York balls as possible, and she's really making a name for herself. So it was really good to see an LA Voguer, because a lot of people that you see on Pose are actually from New York. So that was really cool. And so there are three people in the class, and the manager at the YMCA tells Damon that Vogue is dying and people are not interested, and that he should think of a different type of class to teach. And so she also tells him that white people like to visit, but they don't move in. And so that really sets the mood for the rest of the episode. And we then go to a ball, and the category is realness. And it was such a cool category because um, this house, they bring out this kind of like maitre d', and he brings out a table, and a male and female come out looking like Manhattan's finest power couple. The woman is wearing like this mean coat. They're both wearing cream outfits, and they look really good. And so the couple wins the category. And then Pray Tell sees that the audience, that they don't look as hyped as they were looking with the craze of Madonna and the movement for America to learn how to Vogue. And so he tells them um, the looky loos have left the building and Vogue is dead. But he says ballroom will continue to be ballroom, and we will continue to create. And soon enough, the looky loos will be back. And that is so true for ballroom. Like, I don't know the exact date that ballroom started, but I believe it was 60s, 70s. And throughout the 90s and the 2000s, ballroom has become a force to be reckoned with. Ballroom is international. Um, ballroom balls are happening everywhere in the world, and it's just incredible to see where ballroom was and where ballroom is today. You can go to Paris, you can go to Japan. Oh, somebody's saying hello. Stephen Wan, hello. G Sun, kisses as well. I'm glad I'm seeing the comments coming through. Last time I couldn't see comments. Um, and so ballroom, even kind of like with pose, um, ballroom is just so mainstream. And Equinox for Pride, they had an amazing commercial with a ton of people actually from the community, including Laomi, who is one of my favorite uh, people in the ballroom community. And so, fast forward to the next scene, we have Blanca talking to Pray Tell, and Blanca tells Pray Tell that Frederica, her landlord, was talking to the press, and she tells the press that during the protest outside of her nail salon, that she told the press that the protesters left hypodermic needles in condoms, and then the press took that and stated that um, all of the protesters had HIV, and they used that as kind of like a way to sensationalize the story to minimalize the power and effect of the protest, which is very unfortunate. And so she goes on to tell Pray Tell that she wanted to check in on Lulu, and Lulu has been self destructing after Candy's death. And she goes to the club, the same club that Candy was working at, where she was stripping, and Lulu looks a mess. And so she also tells Pray Tell that Damon and Ricky are not getting booked as much as dancers. And because of that, they have just been hanging around at the house. So Pray Tell tells Blanca that he and her are survivors. And as survivors and elders, they need to talk to Lulu, Damon, Ricky, and basically remind them of their destiny and remind them of who they are. So the very next day, they tell them to meet them in this really cool, like, dance space or theater. And they say that they have a project for them to kind of like re energize them. And so ACT UP is looking to make a statement about safe sex. And they want um, a wealthy person's home to be wrapped in a giant condom to make a message about safe sex. And so Blanca says, I'm nominating Frederica Norman's house. I was on the floor laughing. What poetic justice. And Blanca says basically to kill two birds with one stone. And I really love that. And Blanca also tells all of them that your stories don't have to be about failure. Your stories need to be about resilience. Oh, somebody just said, "Hey, how's it going? I'm James." Hi, James. I love that all of you guys are commenting, but for some reason, the when I am about to read them, they like fade out. I don't know why it's doing that. But keep the comments coming. And so Blanca's message was so inspiring. I am a writer, and I just love the fact that every single week that there is a message in Pose that reminds me of my journey, what I've gone through, and if I continue to write, um, that I can reach all of my goals. And I really love that about Pose. It's really uplifting. And I always walk away inspired. And that's why I keep tuning in because of the inspiration and all of the conversation pieces that are around Pose. And so, fast forward to the next scene. Angel makes breakfast for little Poppy, and she is talking about modeling. And um, Miss Ford, the head of Ford Agency, got her membership to this exclusive members only club called Nails. And she feels very uncomfortable going to Nails because she says that people see her as this kind of like pretty picture, but they don't really see her. And I think um, the stories about the trans characters are so important because not only does it highlight the trans narrative, but the trans narrative in the 90s when there was no trans identity. People did not talk about, the mainstream did not talk about the trans community. And it, every time I listen to their stories, I always kind of like put myself in their shoes. What did it mean to be someone who was transgender in the 90s when it was even more difficult for trans people to get jobs? It was difficult to come out as trans. That was a time when a lot of trans people were in the sex work industry. So I really love these conversations that Pose is creating in the world. Um, and so Angel gets a phone call from Miss Ford, and she learns that she is the new face of BB. And so to celebrate, they go to Nels, and the first person that they run into, I assume he's a photographer. They never really say what his position is, but this person knows Angel. Oh, somebody else. The character who got accepted into the dance school. Thank you for that. Um, and so Angel and little Poppy are offered drugs from this character. They accept, and they are putting on a show in Nels and end up having sex with each other. And I believe this is for the first time. And so, fast forward, um, Sandra Bernhardt and Elektra and everyone else except for Little Poppy and Angel, they head to a motel because they're getting prepared for their. Oh wait, I think I skipped something. Um, I skipped the part where Lulu, Ricky, and Damon, they're trying to figure out how they can create um, this giant condom to wrap around Frederica's house. And so they think of there's a company that made a float in the parade. And so um, then they ask Elektra for a donation to actually get raise the money to actually go to the company to get the giant condom created. And so Elektra at first says no, but Lulu reminds her that when she walked the category and she created that beautiful um, Rococo outfit where her dress was like a carousel with horses, and she had the guillotine that she lost because Pray Tell booted her out for not going to the ACTA protest at the church. And so she says that if she gives the money for this act up project, that she might get Mother of the Year, and everyone's thoughts about her will change. And so Elektra gives her $1,000, but says that she has to work for the remaining balance. She pulls out this red leather outfit from her closet and says, "Do what it do." And she takes her to her client, whose name is Mr. Hosiery, and she tells the client that she introduces her as Lucinda, and that Lucinda costs double, and that she's even harsher than Elektra is. And so Lulu gets into character and starts beating him. And so she raises the other half of the money. And so fast forward, um, they go to the motel, and there are only two rooms, so all of the females in one room and all of the males in one room. So the males are Damon, Ricky, and Praytel, and basically Damon says that he's not going to sleep in a bed with Ricky, and he goes to the front desk to get a cot. During this time, um, Praytel and Ricky are talking, and Ricky says that his previous lover from the tour was just diagnosed with HIV. And so he also tells Pray Tell that he just gave him oral sex, and that he was I don't remember the exact words, but he said something to the effect of like, um, hungry bottom. And so Pray Tell tells him there would be no bottom shaming, and also he needs to get tested. I love that in a short period of time that we go from a conversation about bottom shaming to testing. And so Praytel tells him to remember this feeling, and to remember this moment. It will keep you responsible. And I loved that statement, um, because it created conversations online about um, condom use. Like, we're now in an age where PrEP use is very popular, and there are a lot of people who like to have who basically are on PrEP, but they will have raw sex. But PrEP is not intended to be used with condomless sex. PrEP is just another tool in your safety kit to prevent HIV and AIDS. And so I loved this conversation around condom usage. And so fast forward to the next scene. Everyone except for Little Poppy and Angel, they arrive to Frederica's house with the giant condom, and with a camera crew on the street taping this whole thing. And they start installing this giant condom on Frederica's house. And so they finish everything and inflate this giant condom. And Praytel and Blanca basically tell the reporter that they're doing this because the government isn't talking about HIV and AIDS, and they want to tell everyone that condoms prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS. Such a wonderful conversation. And so they feel accomplished, they're excited. They've gotten even with Frederica for spreading lies about the protest at the nail salon, and they've made a impact with the statement on condom use and HIV and AIDS. And so everyone goes back to the house of Evangelista. Um, the younger generation, they have cooked using Blanca's mother's cookbook, and they also deliver a speech where typically it would be pray tell, but they state that they've been inspired and moved um, by all of the actions that that took place in order to um, create this PSA for ACT UP. And so I really love this scene. Again, it was very inspirational. So fast forward, Blanca is now in her nail salon with a client, and Blanca tells the client that she beat Frederica in court, and she's so proud, as she should be. And again, like a trans woman in the 90s who has her own business. Um, like I love that part of the storyline. And so the client leaves, Frederica walks in, and Frederica tells her that she has been humiliated in the real estate industry, and that it might be difficult for her um, to generate new business in the real estate industry. But she also tells her that she admires her for her hard work to get the nail salon back. But then she threatens her. And so fast forward, um, Blanca is talking to Lulu in her kitchen, and she tells her kind of like what has happened. And so Lulu tells her that happiness does not come easy, and she has enrolled in community college, and she wants to thank Blanca for setting an example for her and for Ricky and Damon. And that was such a beautiful scene because it's a reminder that the younger generation should really take the time to thank the older generation for everything that they've done for us. Um, I was communicating with someone on YouTube who I didn't realize that they were older, and I basically told them that, my generation, we're standing on the shoulders of giants and people who fought for um, for LGBT rights. And without them, we wouldn't have the privileges that we have in the LGBT community that we have today. And so the younger generation, we should thank our elders every chance that we can get and applaud them for their sacrifices, for their struggle, for their marching. And so I love that part. So fast forward, we have Ricky and Pretel. They are waiting for Ricky to get his results for his HIV test. And Ricky confides that this will be the first time that he's taken an HIV test without Damon, and he feels really nervous. So he goes with the medical staffer, and the medical staffer tells him that he's positive, and he's crushed because he doesn't understand why he has just tested positive. And she tells him that on um, the, I guess, like survey that he was given, that he said that he's had multiple sexual partners and he has not used condoms. But he tells the medical staffer that he doesn't have the symptoms, and the staffer tells him that you don't necessarily have to have the symptoms to convert to sero convert over to having HIV. So he tells this to Praytel and he's crushed. And he tells Praytel that he's going to die. And Praytel tells him that he is not and that he has him. And he's hugging him and embracing him. And it was such a powerful scene because, again, we have the dynamic of the younger generation being held up by the older generation, and it was just powerful. And so in the next scene, we have Angel, who she is going to the BB campaign shoot. She's late. She looks a mess, and little Poppy is kind of like propping her up in front of Mrs. Ford, and Mrs. Ford tells little Poppy to leave, and she takes Angel to a makeup vanity mirror, and Ford tells Angel that she has worked in the industry for a very long time, and she has seen young stars who were rising crash and burn. And because of this BB campaign, Ford says that all of your dreams that you originally told me, they're about to come true. But do you want to burn out? Because she can tell that she's either hungover or on some type of drug. And this is also important. Like, I live in LA. LA is a place where a lot of young creative people come to, and in kind of like the entertainment industry, there are a lot of people who supply drugs to people who are young and beautiful, and drugs can really destroy a person before they even reach their dreams. And so I loved how kind of like all of these subjects were tied into this episode, and very quickly, by the way. Um, and so Angel kind of like quickly realizes that my dreams could end today if Ford tells me to leave, but she doesn't. Ford tells like a assistant to get the photographer, and she tells hair and makeup to transform Angel. And so Angel is kind of like relieved. She throws herself on the makeup table. Oh, somebody says, Tracy says, Love LA. Where are you from? Oh, it just vanished. Hi everyone to who is just joining the conversation. For some reason, the like when the messages pop up, they like disappear after 3 seconds. So I'm sorry that I can't read the whole thing. So Angel is excited that Ford has not fired her from the shoot. And so she has this sigh of relief. And then we see this figure walking up behind Angel. And I'm thinking it's the guy from the party. But the guy like looks kind of like different from the guy from the party who offered her drugs. Philadelphia. I have never been to Philadelphia, but I really want to go to Philadelphia. One of my really good friends lives in Philadelphia. And so the guy walks up and he has this kind of like look of just like, it looks like a look of kind of like exhaustion. Like he's all kind of like flushed out. He has no color. And he says, "Hello, Angel." And I realized that it's the guy who Angel, Blanca, and little Poppy beat up because he wanted to take the nude photos of Angel. And I think that was like episode 2. And so previously I said that like Pose gets a lot of their stories from the ballroom community. And I thought that this was going to be pulled from the life of Tracy Africa, who was the first trans supermodel. And so I'm thinking kind of like next week's episode that this photographer is pissed that he was beat up. And I think they like tied him up too. And I wonder if it's the same space that they beat him up in. And so um, I'm excited about next week. I actually didn't even look at the previews from next week because I don't want any spoilers at all. And so we end the episode with a quote that I want to read for you guys. And so the quote is, I think it's a great way to live, to fight for yourself, to fight for your friends, to fight for a community of individuals who are sharing your experience, and to fight for dignity and a better life. And there will be a tipping point. There will be victories and there will be joyous. And this is a quote from Peter Stanley. So, Peter Stanley is an activist who was a member of ACT UP. So, it's a great quote to leave us with from an actual member of ACT UP. And he was also on the board of director for AMFAR, which they raise a ton of money for AIDS research. Um, and they have one of the most chic parties at the Cannes Film Festival every single year. Um, and they have a lot of kind of like celebrity board members. And he is 58, and I believe that he lives in New York. And so we have reached the end of the trade review. Also, to any new subscribers, thank you for um, joining. Like, I really appreciate it. And I hope that you stay with me on this journey. A lot of things will be happening and changing. I do want to grow this channel and work on different types of videos. And so I am so excited for next week episode. The writing for Pose this season um, is just on a different level, and I can't wait for the Emmys. I think the Emmys occur in September. And so I hope that Pose wins all of their categories. So let me know how you like the new lighting, if it's working. There's like a shadow like behind me. I have to figure out how to get rid of this shadow. Um, but I kind of like the new setup. And so let me know your thoughts about the episode. What do you think about the older generation really propping up the younger generation and inspiring them to get off their butts and create? For everyone out there, if you want to make an impact in the world and you're an artist, create, do it. Um, if you have experienced kind of like any type of block, um, find something that motivates you and create. That is my message to all of you out there. Make the world more beautiful. And when you do that, you become beautiful because you've given birth to something. And that's what our legacies will be. What we've birthed into the world, and and how other people view that creation. Until next week, I hope that you guys stay focused, create, love your neighbors, and tell the people that you love them. Besos. Until next week. Bye.